the day after Oliver got engaged. His assistant handed me a plane ticket. Leave. Never show up in North City again. Otherwise, Oliver has plenty of ways to destroy you. I had been with him for years, admired by everyone. Always in the spotlight. But when I left, it was in such disgrace that it was almost laughable. I said, fine. That very night, the plane fell from over 10,000 meters in the sky. Chapter 1. I never thought I would die. In my plan, I would take the 30 million Oliver gave me and fly abroad, far away from all the mess and pain. There were countless good days waiting for me ahead. But in the instant the plane crashed, everything vanished. I was filled with hatred. That ticket Oliver had someone book for me. It wasn't to send me off to a good life. It was to send me to my death. I suddenly remembered the last time I saw Oliver. We hadn't contacted each other in over 2 months. He had been busy handling Lisa's divorce, taking care of her and her daughter from a previous marriage, so busy he almost forgot he still had a girlfriend. He cleared 1 hour from his schedule and came to my place. Well, not exactly my place. It was in the most luxurious part of North City, where every inch costs a fortune. If not for Oliver, I'd never have had the chance to set foot there. Not long ago, we had still been lying in bed together, his arm around my waist. I'd playfully scratched his back, leaving faint marks. But strangely, just a little time apart had turned us into strangers. We sat at opposite ends of the table, so far apart. He asked, "What do you want?" A blunt question. I didn't bother being polite. 3 years of my youth, I asked for 30 million. I admit, I once loved him, but all that love disappeared the moment I realized I was just a substitute. He nodded and said, "All right." His tone was cold. "But you can't stay in North City. She doesn't like being in the same place as you." Ha! What could I do? Of course I had to lower my head. If I refused, Oliver had 100 ways to get rid of me, and I'd end up even more humiliated. He named a city. "I have property there. Pick any one you like. I'll give it to you." So generous. I smiled. "Sure." He nodded again and asked, "Let's never see each other again. Can you do that?" My existence clearly bothered their perfect engagement. "Of course," I replied. "I'm an orphan. 3 years ago, I finally finished university. I heard North City was full of opportunity, so I came. I worked a few days as a model. I liked it, enjoyed it, but then I met Oliver. He pursued me fiercely for half a month, and then we were together. He didn't like me being too visible, so I kept shrinking my social circle. Eventually, I had no one but him. Everyone I knew was through him, not mine. I had no ties here. I couldn't wait to disappear and never see him again. But life had other plans. Even in death, I saw Oliver again, though he couldn't see me, because I was already just a soul. Chapter 2. In life, I loved being beautiful. Before boarding the plane, I had my hair styled and put on light makeup. I hadn't worn light makeup in years, because Oliver didn't like it. Back then, I was naive. Everything I did was to please him. Later, I learned that what he really disliked was me not looking like Lisa, because only when I wore heavy makeup, extended eyeliner, and dazzling eyes did I resemble her most. Everyone knew Lisa, film queen, with cascading waves, bright eyes, red lips, a national obsession. And now, perhaps heaven took pity on me. I remained just as I was before death. Not a single wound. Standing in Oliver's office, I studied myself in the mirror for a long time before finally letting out a relaxed sigh. I glanced around. Here, and there. We had done it all. Too many memories, none worth recalling. Finally, my gaze landed on Oliver. He was only 27, young and already holding both power and fortune. His greatest failure in life? Watching the woman he loved most marry someone else. But now, the broken mirror was mended. The spilled water gathered. A joyful reunion. Even his assistant, when entering the room, wore a smile on his face. "Sir, the nursery is ready, and all the clothes and jewelry Miss Lisa picked yesterday have been delivered." Oliver hummed lightly. He put down the contract in his hand, rubbed his temples, then picked up his phone and looked at it. He looked at it for a long time. I was curious. about to peek at what he was staring at. But then he pressed the screen off, and then I heard him speak. "How is she doing now?" The assistant paused, quickly replying, "Miss Lisa is filming on set right now, it's nearby. Would you like to stop by later?" I had seen Lisa's drama once. She played a fallen princess. Beautiful, intelligent, bold in love and hate. In the story, she used wit and strategy to win hearts and outsmart enemies. Until, finally, she restored her kingdom. If I had just been a regular viewer, I probably would have fallen for her too. But sadly, I wasn't. The first time I saw her was humiliating. She looked me in the eye and asked, "Do you know how much you look like me?" I nodded. Of course I knew. She was a celebrity. Many people said I looked like her. I always took it as a compliment. She gave a smile I couldn't read. "You've been with him for almost 3 years, right?" I said yes. Then she raised her brow slightly. "Let me tell you something. 3 years ago, he already loved me." How ironic. I had been with him for 3 years. No one ever told me. I stupidly played the role of a stand-in for so long. Of course, it wasn't until later that I found out every script Lisa starred in had first been carefully selected by Oliver, then delivered to her through back channels. He couldn't bear to let her face any failure. Under his protection, Lisa's acting career had been smooth and effortless. And me? I had nothing to show for it. For all these years, I looked glamorous, but in the eyes of the world, I was nothing more than that woman beside Oliver. Chapter 3. After the assistant finished speaking, Oliver remained silent for a long time. He tapped his pen lightly on the desk. Finally, he spoke. "She should have arrived by now, right?" The question was strange, almost meaningless. But the assistant, ever composed, reacted quickly. He glanced at his watch. "Yes, she should have." I understood. Oliver was asking about me. How touching. He still had a bit of conscience left. But sadly, I never made it across the ocean. Last night, I died. Oliver, hearing the response, didn't react. He just turned his phone screen on again. This time, I was standing right beside him and could see it clearly. The screen showed a chat between me and him. I saw it. Half an hour ago, he had sent me a message on WeChat. "If you run into any trouble, you can always contact my assistant." If this had been before, I would never have gone more than 30 minutes without replying to him. Oliver, still staring at his phone, let out a cold laugh, then leaned back in his chair. "Good. Has she contacted you?" The assistant shook his head. "No. After I gave her the plane ticket that day, we never saw her again." Oliver fell silent. His face was blank. But for a moment, the air around us seemed to freeze. The assistant hesitated, then asked cautiously, "Sir, should I give Miss Zoe a call?" Oliver raised his eyes slowly. His gaze was calm, unreadable. After a long pause, he said, "No need. Don't ever update me about her again." After saying that, he looked at our chat window one last time. It was silent. Still no reply. His finger hovered above the screen for a moment. Then he deleted all my contact info. Chapter 4. Watching that, I finally understood. He hadn't been worried about me at all. Those 2 questions were just a final courtesy. His way of officially cutting ties. I was furious. How could I die just like that? I'd planned to block him myself the moment I landed and moved into the luxury villa he offered me. But now, he beat me to it. How boring. Thinking that, I raised my foot and kicked Oliver's leg. Back when things were good between us, Oliver treated me well. He wasn't arrogant. And I had a habit of pushing my luck and throwing little tantrums. If he upset me, I'd kick him, just like this. So this move came to me naturally. But the difference now? Back then, if I kicked too hard, I'd hurt myself a bit. Now, I felt nothing at all. I couldn't touch him, which only made me angrier. After the assistant left, Oliver went back to work for a long while, and during that time, I tried to walk out of his office. But before I could even touch the doorknob, I was pulled right back to his side. After 2 tries, I understood. I couldn't go far from Oliver. Maybe because he was the one who indirectly got me killed. Too bad I wasn't some vengeful ghost. At least then I could haunt him properly. Just as I was thinking that, a voice suddenly echoed in my mind. Finally found you. I froze. Who are you? I'm from the underworld. Our department's having some technical issues. Everyone who died in your plane crash is currently stuck near the people they were closest to in life. I quickly spoke up. Then please take me now. Oh, and I still have lots of money left unspent. Can I transfer it to my next life? Heaven knows how badly I wanted to be a real rich woman in my next round. The underworld agent hesitated. I'm not really sure about that, but since you died tragically, at least you can look good when you die next time. Fine then, just take me away now. I'm ready to reincarnate. Can't yet. We have to wait until your funeral is held. Why? Your soul's still bound to this world. Once the funeral's done, that bond will be broken. Everyone else's funerals have already started. You're kind of pitiful. Seems like no one really cares that you died. Talk about a stab to the heart. After saying all that, the voice disappeared from my mind. I sighed and ran through all the people I knew in my head. In the end, I realized something. I was probably doomed to be a lonely wandering ghost forever. A long while passed before Oliver finally left his office. 2 minutes earlier, Lisa had called him and asked him to pick her up. I followed him downstairs and got into the car. I didn't look at Oliver. I was too busy watching the world outside the window. Skyscrapers, traffic, neon lights, the city glittered like a dream. I won't lie, it hurt. To think my vibrant youth ended like this. All because of one failed love story. It was just too much to swallow. And worst of all, that 30 million breakup fee, I didn't even get to spend a cent. It was too cruel. Tears welled up in my eyes. Once we arrived, Oliver got out of the car. A moment later, Lisa walked out and threw herself into his arms. Oliver froze a little, then smiled faintly. How are you feeling? Tired? Lisa nodded, then began to tell him about her recent work. Her voice was lovely. Even the most mundane things sounded captivating coming from her mouth. They held hands, fingers intertwined, wearing matching engagement rings. Lisa had been in countless hit dramas and popular pairings over the years, but watching her with Oliver now, I had to admit, they really did look perfect together. Just then, someone else walked out from inside the building. As they walked, they chatted. Did you see the trending news? A plane crashed last night. Over 100 people, no survivors. Yeah, I saw. I was actually supposed to be on that flight. Tickets were booked and everything, but I landed this role last minute and stayed. I swear, I've got a guardian angel watching over me. Chapter 5. I perked up instantly. Oliver, to be fair, was a generous man. If he found out I died, there was a good chance he'd actually throw me a funeral. Sure enough, the moment he heard those words, his body stiffened mid-step as he was getting into the car. He slowly turned around, let go of Lisa's hand, and looked in the direction of the 2 gossiping crew members. He stared at them, face calm. Then he asked, "Last night?" The 2 nodded. "Yeah, that's right." Oliver was about to ask something more, but Lisa suddenly stepped out of the car and walked over, wrapping herself around his arm like a spoiled kitten. "You never care about things like this," she said playfully. "I'm starving. Let's eat first, okay?" Just moments ago, Lisa had kept her distance and was wearing sunglasses, so the 2 women hadn't recognized her. But now that she'd spoken, they froze for a second. Then their faces lit up with excitement. "Lisa Jia, this must be your fiancé, right?" Lisa's marriage to her ex-husband had been kept secret, but her romance with Oliver? A full-blown public spectacle. Their engagement had gone viral, with everyone praising them as a perfect match. And tragically, that's what had dragged me into the spotlight too. The internet didn't care who was right or wrong. Lisa and Oliver had known each other first. Their old classmates were quick to confirm that. So I was labeled the homewrecker, the woman who used a similar face to steal someone else's man, the villain. I couldn't even look at my phone back then. Lisa just smiled, calm and graceful, and nodded. "Yes. Oh my God. He's so handsome. You 2 look amazing together. When are you getting married?" Lisa Jia, "We're from the crew next door. We've been fans for so long. Can we get your autograph?" Lisa agreed with a cheerful laugh. Oliver, having been interrupted, dropped whatever questions he was going to ask. Just like that, my one little spark of hope was snuffed out. But I wasn't surprised. I had long known that in Oliver's heart, everything came after Lisa. Her laughter, her tears, her marriage drama, even her hunger. She always came first, while Lisa was busy signing autographs. I watched as Oliver casually took out his phone and called his assistant. He asked them to cancel their previous dinner reservation and book something closer to where they were now. I followed them to the restaurant, watched them eat, then followed them back home. Throughout it all, Oliver was patient and attentive. If I still loved him, I might have cried like a heartbroken ghost. But I didn't love him anymore. I just felt numb. There were even moments, brief, fleeting, when I wondered. I lived a decent life. Never did anything bad. Why is it that, in the end, no one even cares that I'm gone? When I stepped inside, I noticed the villa had changed completely. It looked nothing like when Oliver and I were still together. The housekeeper, Monica, came downstairs holding the hand of a little girl, 3 or 4 years old. At most, she wore a puffy princess dress, her hair naturally curly, and her eyes large and beautiful. A diamond hair clip glittered in her hair. Lisa waved to her. Alicia, come here. She had her father's surname, Lisa's ex-husband. Alicia ran over, threw herself into Lisa's arms, then grabbed Oliver's hand. Daddy Oliver. Oliver crouched down and gently stroked her hair. Were you good today? Such a happy, wholesome little family. Who would have guessed that the all-powerful Oliver, the fearsome CEO, would one day lower himself to raise someone else's child for love? Alicia nodded enthusiastically. I was. Right then, the doorbell rang, sharp and jarring, shattering the moment. Monica went to open it, and returned a moment later holding a package. She glanced at Lisa, hesitating, then finally spoke. This seems to be from Miss Zoe. A wave of buried memories flooded back to me, the ones people tried to forget after I died. Oh, right. Before I left, I mailed Oliver a box. There were 2 things inside. The moment that box appeared, the villa fell into silence, until Alicia, still in Oliver's arms, burst into tears. She pointed at the package. Throw it away. That's from the bad lady. Wah! Her outburst sent Lisa into a panic. She lowered her head and gently coaxed her daughter. Okay, we'll do what you say. Mommy will throw it away right now. Then she shot Monica a look. Monica understood, her expression uneasy. She looked at Oliver. Sir, the man lowered his gaze, staring at the package in her hands for a long moment, then finally said, Throw it away. Monica sighed, turned around, and left. When she came back, her hands were empty. Lisa looked at her and casually commented, That little stand-in of yours really doesn't know when to quit. I gritted my teeth and cursed. Damn it. She was right, I was a ghost that wouldn't go away. I was the clingy little substitute. Let's see them try to call an exorcist and drive me out for good. Chapter 6. Oliver's expression didn't change at all when he heard those words. He didn't refute them either. He simply said, Is that so? Lisa smiled slightly, gestured for Monica to take Alicia back to her room, then nestled herself into Oliver's arms, her tone tinged with melancholy. Alicia is adorable, isn't she? If only she were really your daughter. I'd seen Lisa's ex-husband before, a well-known entrepreneur, mature, elegant, charismatic. Lisa didn't come from a wealthy family, but she had always been ambitious. Like a heroine from a romance novel, she met both Oliver and her ex-husband in her sophomore year, when she was in her prime. At the time, Oliver was just a student, quiet and low-key. Lisa did have feelings for him, but those feelings couldn't compare to the future her ex-husband could offer. He invested in a drama just to win her over, and by the time Oliver found out, they were already married. At the same time, Lisa also discovered Oliver's true background. Naturally, she regretted it, but pride had always been her armor. After that, she never contacted Oliver again, until a few months ago, when she found out her husband had cheated on her. That's when she came crawling back to Oliver, and that was the end of my so-called beautiful love story. Lisa tilted her head up. You know, I hurt my body when I gave birth to Alicia. I probably can't. I don't mind. Oliver cut her off. his voice deep and steady. Lisa let out a relieved breath, then glanced toward the door before speaking again in a cutesy tone. But what if, just what if, that little stand-in of yours was pregnant with your child? Would you still send her away so easily? Oliver frowned. I don't deal in hypotheticals. Oh, come on. Humor me. I want to hear what you'd do. What would he do? Obviously, he'd tell me to get rid of it. Even though, when we were together, he did bring up marriage. We had matching couple rings. We even talked about having a child one day. But those were all what-ifs. The reality was, the moment Lisa looked back, without even a proper breakup, he distanced himself from me. And later, he just watched coldly as everything fell apart for me, then threw some money at me to make me go away. Now, Oliver stayed silent for a while, then simply pushed Lisa gently away. His voice was cold, tinged with fatigue. Don't mention her again, Lisa asked. But you two were together for so long. Haven't you thought about her even once these past few days? Oliver pursed his lips, looked down at her, eyes frosty. She's already gone. Isn't that enough for you? Originally, Oliver had planned to send me away before their engagement, but Lisa disagreed. She should attend the engagement party. She'd said, after all, she was with you for years. Shouldn't she be there to witness it? Because of that one request, my departure was delayed by half a month. At their engagement banquet, I sat in the audience and watched everything unfold, and as fate would have it, Alicia was seated right next to me. She looked at me and called me sister in the sweetest voice, asking me to help her with some food. But the moment I lifted my chopsticks, she fell off her chair. A broken glass cup cut into her arm, and she cried out loudly, "Sister, why did you push me?" Everyone looked at me with contempt. They thought, what a vicious woman, failed to climb the ladder, and now she's trying to hurt a child? Before I could even react, Oliver slapped me. I looked up, stunned, only to see Lisa watching me with a smug smile. She said, "If I'd known, I wouldn't have let you come." And now, as a ghost, hearing that conversation, I finally understood whether I was innocent or not never mattered to Oliver. Everything he did was just to please Lisa. Lisa pressed her lips together, then suddenly reached out to undo the buttons on Oliver's shirt and leaned in to kiss him. Oliver didn't push her away, but he didn't embrace her either. Just then, his phone rang. Lisa, a bit annoyed, grabbed it and put it on speaker. I crouched in the corner, listening as a voice on the other end asked, "Hello, do you know a Miss Zoe?" Oliver's eyes shifted slightly. He was about to respond, but Lisa cut in first. "No, I don't." She hung up and blocked the number immediately, then powered off the phone. "I don't care what it is. I finally have a moment to relax, no matter how big the emergency is. You're staying with me today." Then they went upstairs. Chapter 7. Fortunately, the distance wasn't too far. I could still move around freely downstairs. I didn't have to follow them upstairs. And so, I stayed by Oliver's side for many more days. The first day, they went to see a movie together. It was an older film. Lisa had picked it. Oliver didn't pay much attention throughout. He was busy texting his assistant. After the work updates came in, the screen showed, "The other person is typing," for a long time, but no message followed. Oliver frowned and typed, "You want to request time off?" The assistant replied quickly, "No, Oliver. Have you seen the trending topics? Miss Lisa's new movie is about to be released. Is that so? Remind me when the time comes." I clicked my tongue. This assistant sure knows how to phrase things. There were lots of people in the theater. Just now, I'd hovered beside someone and watched a few short videos, 2 episodes of a miniseries, and I saw the trending topics. A full day had passed, but the flight crash was still trending at the top. If Oliver clicked on it, he'd see everything. What the assistant really wanted to ask about was probably that, but Oliver had already instructed him not to tell him anything more about me. So, the assistant asked in a very roundabout way. After replying, Oliver looked up and spaced out for a long time. That's when he realized the movie was my favorite one. I used to pester him into watching it with me again and again, and every time, we'd end up making out on the couch. We were young, reckless, and never cared about the time of day. After a while, Oliver suddenly stood up. Lisa, wearing sunglasses and a hat, whispered, "What's wrong?" "I'm stepping out for a bit." He left the theater, then the entire mall, and somehow ended up standing outside, chain smoking, covering the ground with ashes. The next day, Lisa went to the film set. Alicia had a fever. It was Oliver who took her to the hospital himself. After finally calming her down, Oliver stood in a corner, staring out the window, lost in thought. A couple of nurses walked by, unaware of his presence, chatting casually. "That little girl with the fever. She was here a few days ago. Remember?" "Yeah." Big scene. Hospital director came out to greet them. But if I remember right, it was just a small cut. Who knows? Kids cry over anything. But I remember there was a young woman with them, hanging back. They said she hurt the kid on purpose. "I know who you mean, really pretty, right?" Cursing under her breath about bad luck while mentioning a Rolls Royce. Then she started crying. I even handed her a tissue. She was polite, thanked me, didn't seem like a bad person at all. Chapter 8. Yes, that person was me. I agreed to delay my departure and attend the engagement party. The condition? A Rolls Royce. 2 of them. I was terrified of being poor again. During those 2 months when Oliver deliberately distanced himself, I had tasted the bitterness of isolation. After being slapped that day, I almost exploded on the spot. But the thought of those luxury cars made me hold back. Besides, I truly had no way to fight them. At that moment, Oliver stood nearby, and when he heard this conversation, he actually chuckled a little. But the next second, his smile vanished. Because the other nurse continued speaking, I just remembered. I saw her before that. I was delivering something across the hall and saw her coming in for a prenatal checkup. I can hardly describe Oliver's expression in that moment. His lips parted slightly, his back hunched, and his hand, hanging at his side, curled into a faint fist. His face looked lost, blank. Then, Alicia's voice came from inside the room. She said, "Oliver, Daddy." Oliver walked in. He stood at the bedside, looking down at the feverish little girl, and suddenly asked, "That day, was it really that pretty sister who pushed you?" Alicia was just a small child, and she was feeling awful. She stammered for a long time, trying to stick to her story, but in the end, she couldn't hold it together anymore. Her lips trembled, and she finally admitted, "It was me. I fell on my own." That night, Oliver stood outside the hospital room, staring at the obstetrics department across the courtyard, for the entire night, looking at his back. I suddenly remembered something, too. I had been pregnant when I died. The reason I agreed so quickly to leave, aside from being blinded by money, was because I wanted to have that child. If Oliver had known, he never would have allowed it. Not because I loved him, but because his genes were good. I had it all planned out. With the money he gave me, I could raise a child alone. Life would be beautiful. As dawn broke, he made a call to the hospital director. When he hung up, he already knew I had left pregnant. He pocketed his phone, leaned against the wall, and let out a short, bitter laugh. "Zoe, you really are something." Chapter 9. 2 minutes later, I saw him skillfully enter a string of numbers. It was my phone number, but for some reason, he hesitated and didn't make the call right away. After a long while, he finally opened WeChat, found my contact, and tapped Add Friend. I didn't quite understand what he meant by that. Was he trying to force me to abort the baby? Sigh. There's no need to force anything anymore. I died with the child. 2 lives, gone in one instant, utterly clean. That very afternoon, Alicia was discharged from the hospital. But Oliver didn't stay home to watch over her, nor did he go to the office. Instead, he drove to the place where I used to live. It was the apartment he had given me after our breakup. He never brought it up again, so I had simply sold it, at a high price. Too, I had been thrilled for days. But now, I watched with my own eyes as he entered the passcode and opened the door. What? He walked inside. The interior hadn't changed. Everything was just the way I'd left it. Turns out, he was the buyer all along. Was he really that fond of this apartment? He gave it to me, and then bought it back himself. Rich people and their logic, I honestly don't get it. He walked around the place for a while, then finally sat down. A call came in. It was his assistant. "Sir, I've confirmed the time for your wedding photo shoot. It's the day after tomorrow. If that still works for you, I'll inform Miss Lisa." Oliver was silent for a long time. He didn't say a word. I was tired, too, and sat on the other end of the sofa. The next moment, Oliver's gaze suddenly shifted and landed right on me. I froze for a second. I almost thought he could actually see me, but then he slowly looked away and finally spoke. "Cancel it." "Aw, but I checked. Both you and Miss Lisa are free that day. Should I move it to next week?" By now, I already knew. Their wedding was scheduled for 2 months from now. No wedding photos at all. I couldn't quite read Oliver anymore. After a pause, he spoke again. "Book me a flight. I'm leaving tonight." As those words fell, it was as if something had finally clicked for him. He leaned back slightly, and for once, there was a hint of softness in his expression. He said, "I'm going to find her. She left in such a rush, we still had so much left unsaid. Do you think she'll blame me for being so heartless back then?" I froze. Was the her he was talking about me? Oliver sighed, gripping his phone tightly. He had always been cold and composed. Rarely this open. These few sentences, this level of vulnerability, were unheard of from him. He had always believed Lisa was the love of his life. But in these past few days, he'd come to realize maybe it was all just obsession. He couldn't afford to lose Zoe and their child just because of some unreachable fantasy from his youth. Chapter 10. However, his assistant didn't immediately respond. After hesitating for a while, he finally said, "Oliver, Miss Zoe, she passed away a few days ago. That flight, it crashed." I was instantly alert. Oliver's hand trembled slightly, and his face turned pale. Everything he had been trying so hard to ignore over the past few days suddenly became painfully clear. The unanswered messages, the trending topics he kept avoiding, all the signs. If he'd just paid a little more attention, he would have known sooner. The assistant's voice came again from the other side of the line, cautious and tentative. "Sir?" Oliver's voice turned hoarse. "When did you find out?" "Not long after it happened." He paused, then added, "On the day you told me not to inform you about Miss Zoe anymore." I nodded silently. That was true. I could vouch for the assistant. Oliver had always been cold and decisive. Once he made up his mind, his subordinates followed orders without question. And honestly, in the assistant's eyes, I didn't matter much to Oliver anymore. He probably thought Oliver would never ask about me again. Why risk offending the future Mrs. Oliver over someone already dismissed? Oliver's expression turned grim. Standing beside him, I could sense something was seriously off about Oliver's state of mind. The next moment, he stood up and violently kicked the coffee table in front of him. My heart ached a little. That coffee table, I picked it out myself. And it was expensive, too. Oliver suddenly moved. As if remembering something, he took the number Lisa had blocked earlier and removed it from the blacklist. Then he hit redial. His fingers trembled, and with his other hand, he pulled out a cigarette from the pack on the table and lit it. "Zoe, she's really gone, isn't she?" There was silence on the other end for a moment, and then came the reply, "Sir, my condolences." Chapter 11. After hanging up the phone, Oliver sat alone for a long time before finally driving home. As soon as he walked in, he said only one thing. "You knew all along, didn't you?" Lisa was wearing a face mask and watching a movie. She replied without thinking, "What are you talking about? Why are you back so late? Alicia kept asking about you all afternoon. Go upstairs and check on her." Oliver curled his lips and stepped in front of her. His gaze was ice cold. I had never seen him like this before. And clearly, neither had Lisa. She stepped back a little, her voice rising. "What the hell's wrong with you? I'm not that little stand-in of yours. I've got a real temper." As those words fell, Oliver seemed to recall something. Suddenly, he started to laugh. And as he laughed, tears began to fall. I remember, she had a temper too. That day, I slapped her. I thought she'd cause a scene at our engagement party. But she didn't. Only those who are favored can act recklessly. Back then, I already knew what I truly meant to him. How could I have dared? Lisa's face turned pale. "Zoe? You found out about her?" "Yes. What? Don't tell me, now that she's dead, you finally realized she's the one you loved? Oliver pressed his lips together. Yes, the wedding's off. I'm not marrying you. Lisa stood up abruptly. No, you promised. You said you'd marry me, treat Alicia like your own daughter, and take care of us for the rest of our lives. You can't just go back on that. Oliver's expression darkened. He spoke each word clearly. If you hadn't insisted she stay for our engagement party, she wouldn't have died. Lisa froze. Then she started laughing. You're blaming me? You're seriously blaming me? If you hadn't been hung up on her, would I have acted this way? You probably don't even realize you say her name in your sleep. When we shop, you always pick the exact styles and sizes she liked. You were already in love with her. If you ask me, you're the hypocrite. You're the one who killed her. And when I suggested she stay for the party, I saw the relief in your eyes. You wanted more time with her too, didn't you? Oliver listened silently, his fists clenched tightly at his sides. I stood there, stunned. What the hell is even happening? Outside, it had started to rain. Thunder rumbled across the sky. Inside, the two of them stood face to face. From upstairs came Alicia's crying voice, Mommy. Daddy. Oliver looked up. His eyes were bloodshot as he pointed at the door. Get out, now. Chapter 12. Lisa and her daughter left in the middle of the night. After watching this farce unfold, to be honest, I didn't feel any satisfaction. I felt it was absurd. At this point, I would have preferred if Oliver's heart had always belonged to Lisa. Otherwise, my death just feels like a cruel joke. Love that only comes after the fact, I'd rather not have it. Once the villa finally fell quiet, Oliver slumped on the sofa, eyes blank. After a while, I heard a muffled sob. Come to think of it, I'd never seen him cry before. Time passed. I was about to doze off. But suddenly, Oliver sprang to his feet like a madman and ran outside. He was rummaging through the trash. Rain poured over him, and in no time, he looked completely disheveled. Fortunately, I was a ghost. I couldn't feel the cold. He muttered to himself. Where is it? I made a mistake. I shouldn't have thrown it away. Oh, so he was looking for the package I had sent him. He searched the entire night, but he didn't find anything. By dawn, he sat at the doorstep, utterly defeated. Thankfully, this was a private villa community, and no one saw him in that state. Monica hadn't stayed overnight. When she arrived the next morning, she was startled. Sir, what happened to you? A faint spark returned to Oliver's face. He said, the package she sent. You threw it away, didn't you? I can't find it. Monica froze, her expression shifting. After a pause, she replied, actually, I didn't throw it out. Oliver looked up, eyes suddenly glowing. Where is it? Monica walked toward her room, and Oliver followed behind. Step by step, she sighed. Miss Zoe was a good girl, pure-hearted. She went so far away all on her own. Who knows when she was planning to come back? Oliver stopped in his tracks, his throat tightening. She's not coming back. Monica didn't understand what he meant. She thought he just meant to leave Zoe abroad for good. She shook her head. What a shame. She used to ask me all the time what your favorite dishes were. She wanted to cook them for you. She said she didn't actually like wearing heavy makeup. But since you liked it, she tried to like it too. She even asked me once if she looked like Miss Lisa, if she was just as pretty. She smiled as she asked. I didn't dare tell her the truth. I said she was prettier than Miss Lisa. She was so happy when she heard that. Oliver turned his head to the side. His hands trembled violently at his sides. He nearly burst into tears again. Chapter 13. That box eventually ended up in Oliver's hands. He treated it like a treasure, carrying it carefully back to his room. His hands were dusty and dirty when he touched it. He quickly grabbed some tissues nearby to wipe it clean, and then didn't dare touch it again. He went to shower and change into clean clothes first. That was probably the longest shower he had ever taken. Watching all this, I felt bored. When someone dies, it's like a light going out. Everything becomes meaningless. When he finally opened the box, his expression slowly stiffened. Inside, there was a wedding invitation for their engagement party. I had written a sentence on the back. The wedding candy tastes awful. I didn't push her. Go to hell. Well, in the end, The one who died was me. I guess it counts as receiving karmic retribution for my bitter words. There was also a pair of matching rings we had made together. His had long been lost, whether intentionally or not. I didn't know. He rarely wore it anyway. I later found it in the bushes downstairs near my building. Now, I returned it to him, placed alongside mine. After all, he paid for them back then. Returning them was just setting things right. Oliver stared at them for a long time before he finally lifted his hand and took off the ring from Lisa. Then, he put on the one from the box. After that day, he sank into a long depression. News of him calling off the engagement with Lisa spread quickly, and soon after, she was exposed for mistreating new actors and acting like a diva. Her public image plummeted. This time, Oliver didn't help cover things up. He even said, "Pour more fuel on the fire. Men can be terrifying." Days passed, but he still hadn't thought of arranging a funeral for me. Even the staff from the underworld couldn't help but urge me. "Should I try speaking with someone upstairs and get permission for you to say a word to him?" But that very night, Oliver, exhausted from so many sleepless days, got into a car accident. The day he was about to wake up, the sun was shining brightly. I stood by the window and finally spoke. "Oliver." His eyelashes trembled slightly, as if he wanted to open his eyes, but couldn't. I said, "I have no family, no friends. For the sake of us having known each other, give me a proper funeral, make it lively. In the next life, let's not meet again." The hospital room fell into deep silence. After a long time, I finally heard a low voice. "Okay,